Okay friends, let's get started on our job. One of the first things we want to do is gain access behind this area. Open up your glove box, and then we're going to carefully grab onto it and lift it up and away from the dash. Now with that cover out of the way, we're going to continue on looking at this area. Down along the bottom, you're going to find two 10mm headed bolts. You can either use a 10mm or even a Phillips head. Now let's reach down underneath this area. Under here, you're going to find your computer. We're just going to grab onto it and carefully start pulling it down and away. Up along the top here, you're going to find that you have an area that the wiring harness is held onto this plastic area. Let's carefully grab onto these two tabs. You can either use your fingers or even use some pliers, squeeze them, and then press this down and out. Carefully set this aside. Now as I start tugging on this a little bit, you can tell that there's an area where the wires have a push tab and they go up into the plastic. Use a trim tool to separate it. Now that we have that out of the way, let's make our way back up inside behind the glove box. Along the driver's side of this area, you're going to find that you have a rod. On that rod, you have a white clip that holds it in place. Go ahead and pop that out of the way, and then remove the rod from the armature. Now we're going to move over to the other side of the box. On the other side, you're going to find the wiring that leads down here. Right along where my index finger is, you're going to be able to find where there's a squeeze tab. Squeeze the tab and carefully pull the wiring apart using a long nose screwdriver. Every time you disconnect an electrical connector, take a peek. If you see any funny colors, it's probably corrosion. This one looks fine. All right, once we have that disconnected, let's continue on with some pliers. I want to carefully reach down underneath this area, and I'm going to grab onto the rest of the harness that's connected to the box. I'm only going to squeeze it hard enough to grab onto it, and then carefully slide it towards the rear of the vehicle. That'll unlock it. Now that we have the wiring disconnected, we're going to move ahead to removing 4 Phillips head screws. We'll start with this one up here. Now there's going to be another one down along the passenger side of the box. The next one that we're looking for is directly underneath the box. You can see that by looking in my mirror. Remove this. Now with that one out of there, you're going to find that you have one more hidden screw right behind it. Now let's continue with a flat blade screwdriver. We're going to come along the passenger side of the box, and what you're going to look for is a metal clip. We'll carefully get between the box and the metal clip and gently separate it. Try not to lose that clip because you will be reusing it. There's our clip. Give it a quick inspection and set it aside. At this point, we've removed all of our screws and our locking clip. We only have 3 more clips that we have to deal with. 1, 2, and 3. To remove these clips, you just essentially want to get underneath this area and gently pull it down a little bit. We'll make our way over here, do the same thing. Once all of these are broken free, it should want to slide down. Now at this point, you're just going to have to give this a little bit of elbow grease. We need to slide it underneath this area. Be careful not to break it because you will be reusing it. I get some wires down along the back here. You want to make sure they don't get trapped under there. The next thing that I would always like to do is to try to disconnect the wiring for the blower motor. Now it's a little hard to access from underneath here, so all we're going to do is follow the wiring all the way over to where it connects onto the blower motor resistor. For the blower motor resistor, we're going to squeeze on this tab, and then we can pull down the wiring. Now the next thing you want to do is carefully get underneath the dash here. You're going to find that you have 3 8mm headed bolts. Remove all 3, then the blower motor from the vehicle. the last one, I'll make sure I'm holding the blower motor so it doesn't fall and potentially hurt me. Give that a little wiggle and carefully remove it. Now we can start removing the wiring from the blower motor. All you want to do is carefully come right along the side of it. We're going to be looking for a little press tab. You can either use a small screwdriver, your finger, or a pick. Gently get in between this area, squeeze it, and then remove the wiring from the blower motor. Okay friends, now it's time to install our brand new blower motor. Now when we put this in position in the vehicle, you want to pay attention to this area. It protrudes out from the blower motor. You want to make sure it lines up with the corresponding slot on the box. Let's carefully start sliding this up and into position. Once we have it up there, we'll continue on with our 3 mounting screws. Now for these screws, you only want to start them in. We're going to put them in just a little bit. Once they're all started, we can snug them up. Let's get that last screw in there in the back. Okay, at this point, all 3 of our mounting screws are started. Snug them up. Keep in mind, as you tighten these, you're only screwing into plastic. Don't strip it out. Make sure it's nice and snug. Now let's put in our wiring harness. You want to have it in this orientation. You've got the little push tab. That's going to be closest towards the rear. Press that in, listen for a click, give it a tug to make sure it's completely secured. Now we'll follow this all the way over to the resistor and connect it in as well. Get a little click, give it a tug. Now we can put on our lower cover. When we put this in, you need to pay attention to the wiring. You want to make sure that you have the wiring going underneath the cover, not pressed up like this. Now with that said, let's carefully start putting this in. Now as we slide this up here, pay attention along the passenger side of the lower box. You're going to find that you have a small cutout. That cutout's important to mention because that's where the wiring for the blower motor needs to slide through. Now that we have that up there, we're going to continue trying to press this up towards the box where it needs to be. Now that it's up there, you can tell that my clips are in the proper position. It essentially latched in. Just go ahead and double check it. If it doesn't seem like it's completely latched in, lift up and squeeze it into the proper position. Now with that slid up into its proper position, let's continue on with our metal clip. Comes right along the back side here. It's pretty hard to see, but essentially once you get it in there, you'll know. Listen for a nice click. Make sure it's secure. Now we can start putting in our 4 mounting screws. Start with whichever one you like. I'll come down along the area where the clip was. Now let's carefully get this one in as well. Now let's get this last bolt in here. Now we can make our way up to our rod. Go ahead and slide that into position. Once it's inside, continue on by locking it down with your white connector. Give that a tug, make sure it's secure. You don't want that falling off. Now we can start resecuring our wiring. We'll take this end and slide it right into the box. After that, continue on with the wiring that leads to that. Listen for a click, give it a tug to make sure it's secure. Now we're going to start resecuring our computer. Let's start with the wiring. Put it up and over this area, and then make sure you latch it in so it's secure. Press that in there. Now we're going to take this and we're going to swing it into the proper position. Looking along this area, this would be considered the front. It's facing towards the front of the vehicle. It's a little push clip. You want to look down along the back here, find the area that it presses into, and slide it in as needed. Get that lined up, press it in. Now we can start lifting this up. Line up both of your mounting bolt holes. Once each of them are lined up, continue on by snugging them. Now we can put this piece on. This essentially is just going to slide over the computer, and if you were to look inside this area, you're going to be able to find the slot where everything needs to line up. Just go ahead and get that up on there, press that one in. You can tell that side's locked in. I'll make my way over to the other side and do the exact same thing. This side's a little harder to see. All right, give it a little wiggle, make sure it's secure. Now we can continue on by putting on our glove box. Looking along the bottom of it, you're going to find that you have 4 hooks, 2 on either side. Looking down at the dash where it's supposed to line up with, you're going to find the areas that it needs to line up and press into. Let me get those hooks lined up in their corresponding areas. I'll press this up. Now I'm going to carefully drive it down, making sure that it's completely situated and locked in. Give it a little tug. Make sure it closes and opens properly. Okay friends, we got the car back together. The next thing you're going to want to do is put the key in the on position and test your blower motor on all speeds. Thanks for watching.